I got to be honest. I'm a little disappointed in myself because I don't have a bit for this week.
That's okay.
Um, I've been thinking about it most of the day, and I don't have one. I don't have a bit. So it's just
You talking about like
yeah,
for B-roll or something?
yeah. It's because sometimes I'm okay.
I can tell the story that I told the first time we did Roundtable, but I told it after we were done recording. The story about me and Colin's first podcasts and John Hamm.
I, you're muted, Colin.
Sorry. Oh yeah, my bad.
That's why we could not hear you. I was like,
Well, I hadn't said anything yet, but I only said oh yeah so
oh
far.
yeah,
So we're
okay,
I
lucky on that
can
part.
I
yes.
listened to the
Tell
new
that story. I do love a good story.
Okay, well, I also
Okay.
before I jump into that, I did listen to the new Super Sometimes album, Colin, and it is good.
Okay.
I'm a little surprised because the last I you it gave me story so far like proper dose era vibes, and I
Uh-huh.
know you're not like a super big fan of story so far, so I was like, oh,
Yeah, it was a little surprising to me as well because like there's some stuff that I feel like is still somewhat similar to their first album, which was technically under a different name, because then they got in trouble for
okay,
using that old name. So that's why it was like very weird where they kept calling this like the debut album, and I was like, that's kind of semantics, really. You have an album already, but I get what you're saying. But
yeah.
it's also that thing of
The only
like,
other album I have to compare it to is the previous one.
yeah, and I really really like that one. I think
Same,
more.
yeah,
Um,
same.
this one is like that thing where there's still some songs on there that really hit like really good for me. Especially oh God, it's the second song of the Make Up Stories. That one, the ending is like the vocals on that go absolutely crazy, and it's like, God damn, I was not familiar with your game on like harmonization stuff like that. That's really good. But then there's a couple other songs where I'm like, I feel like we're hitting the 2010s a little bit more than the 2000s now, and I don't know if I care for that.
Yeah, I'm totally not doing the thing I told Rob I was going to do, which was tell a story. But yeah, it gave me that like that vibe of like when a band hits the scene and they're doing that like faster skate punk, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, nostalgia." And then usually it takes to like the third album, and then they're like, "Okay, but now we're going to make it a little more like radio accessible." And I was like,
That
"Oh,
was
they've done it."
exactly my thought.
Yeah,
I
but
think
the
that's like the
songs are
pure
really good.
noisification in a way, but
Yeah, but the
yeah,
songs are still really good. Like I'm like these are
yes,
slower, they're a lot more, but they're still really well written songs. But
agreed.
yeah, so yeah, anyway. So yeah, the first time that I was on a podcast with it was actually my first podcast ever. I
Oh,
had never been on a podcast before, and Colin invited me on. He had taken done like an open call for, hey, who wants to jump on, Timeline Scavengers and cover Captain America? Who Captain America is my favorite, Marvel
Yeah.
hero. So I was like, dude, I'll do it. And so we got on and we had a good time. We spent way more of the episode than I anticipated talking about how attractive the actors were rather than like the movie itself.
sure.
Yep.
As one
And
does.
and
Can
one of the things that
understand
we
that.
talked about, we were talking about actors who like are very conventionally attractive, but then also seem to also be really like cool, chill, good personality. Like it's like that's kind of not fair. Like you already got like like the
You got
really
the
good
looks. You're allowed to
looks,
have a personality too.
right? And so we were like going through like the list, and I think Chris Evans was probably the reason we like started down that road, but we were just bringing up
Probably.
other actors, and I brought up John Hamm. And I had said something about, because when he does like his cameos on SNL and stuff, he like, seems really funny and whatever.
Yeah.
And so we went through this whole thing and then after we recorded it and it posted, I shared the episode and I was like, hey guys, I'm on my first podcast or whatever. And so I just shared it out to friends so they could check it out. And the first comment that they got on that post was, John Hamm set someone on fire. I was like, what? And so like I went and looked it up and it was part of like a fraternity hazing thing that he was not only like mentioned in, but like that specifically was like, no, he like was hazing a dude real hardcore and like lit him on fire. And I was like, I did not know that. So yeah,
I really am a big fan, as long as it's something where it's like, I mean, I'm not saying that excusable, but I feel like if the guy's like, "Hey, I've turned out okay," then you're like, "All right, I guess maybe all is forgiven," in quotes. There's nothing worse though than like when you're like, "I've got a new favorite," and then everyone goes, "Oh, well, you shouldn't because they're definitely canceled." And you're like, "What? For what reason?"
I
You're like, "You
just
just
found
found
it.
this thing, yeah."
Yeah,
I just started liking it. You're like, well, now I feel guilty for liking it, but like, can I still kind of like it? And you have to determine whether or not it's an okayable enough scenario.
here's how does John Hamm. You get away with a lot, and that's probably the line. I'll put the line there, sure. Yeah.
It's like the diagonal. It's like, okay, how bad is the thing you did, and also how likable are you?
Yeah.
And so somehow John Hamm is likable enough to come above the line of setting someone on fire, which I didn't know that, but
I guess like that kind of idea of like, if you're gonna hate someone, you go big or go home. I guess maybe that's where the phrase go ham comes from.
go ham now means set someone on fire
Yeah,
or
exactly.
go home.
Oh, I did miss the story because I was trying to get to my son and get him to go back to his bedroom. Um, the person he set on fire, did he deserve it?
No, it was like a fraternity hazing thing.
Oh, well, that's dumb. Okay. I was just gonna try and give him the benefit of the doubt here to like, did he deserve being set on fire? Because if he did, okay, I'm passable. I'll allow it, but apparently not. Sad. Hey guys, welcome back to First, Last, and Best. As always, I am Rob. I am your host, and today is a little bit of a weird episode. Well, yeah, sure, why not? Let's call it weird. Sure, absolutely. Uh, but obviously, the round table is here, guys. It's Colin, it's Jeff, it's Angle. They're all here to share stories and talk shenanigans and talk bands. And first and foremost, I would just like to thank everyone who has been listening to uh, our short segments, do it yourself, or do it together, I should say, where we're talking about DIY bands throughout the country. Obviously, our single siren, where we're discussing new singles released by bands and the album archives. Those are all on our social media platforms, YouTube. Also, we are releasing audio only formats as well on Apple Music and Spotify. So if you don't want to watch a reel, you can go ahead and just go listen to it. It's between 2.5 to like 6, 8 minutes, depending on what we're recording that week. So you can go check those out along with all of our full length episodes as well. Anywhere you can find us on social media and on streaming services. So hooray for that. Uh, like I said, Jeff, Colin, Angle is here. The round table or a square table. I don't know, maybe because there's four corners and it's more of a square than a rectangle than a circle, I guess. I don't know.
It's your space. You make the rules.
I've taken this in a really weird direction right off the bat. So we are actually an idea had popped in my head a couple weeks ago. I wrote it down, then I lost it and I forgot about it. But when I was trying to come up with an idea for an episode, this popped into my head again. And that is the concept of the supergroup. And I thought it would be fun to discuss some supergroups that, we've listened to throughout our tenure as, a music listening team. I guess team. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that either. And then, as a thought experiment, create our own supergroups. These supergroups don't actually exist, but it's just a fun little idea of if you could create your own, who would be in it and what kind of music would they be playing? Bonus points if you have a fun band name. I don't, but that's besides the point. Yeah, I know. I wish I had thought about that earlier and like kicked that out to you guys because then we could have, actually, what? It's fun just to come up with shit on the spot though. So, we'll see how it goes. All right. So You guys, who was the first like real like quote unquote super group that you listened to? Do you guys remember?
I mean, for me, it's probably honestly the one that's been picked for tonight, not by me, but by someone else here. Because I was introduced
Mhm.
to Me First and the Gimme Gimmes at a very early age.
Yeah.
Probably. I was trying to think if there was any bands that would have predated Me First for me also, and I don't think so. So I think Me First was probably my first exposure to even the idea of a super group.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've already talked to Rob about this, but it would probably be the first concert my parents took me to, which would be Ringo Starr and his all-star band.
Okay.
You got
Yeah.
Lee on drums, you got the Cheap Trick guy on guitar. Yeah, so it was what one would consider now, especially like of the 70s, 80s. That's a super for sure. Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah.
You know, just to throw out another name, and this is probably the first like quote unquote super group or like a group of musicians from different bands, and then just all of a sudden decided to start something. And that's a transplant.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Especially going like since like Travis and Tim and Matt for a very short amount of time, uh, were all in different groups at the time. Well, obviously Tim and Matt on still in Rancid. Um, but the fact that they were able to create something else and especially something so different from what they were originally doing. So like obviously Travis with Pop Punk and Blink, and then Matt and Tim doing like the ska punk rock with Rancid, and doing something more along the lines of like ska
Yeah.
punk rap kind of fusion with the transplants. So
Definitely post pop pop punk boom of mid 90s. Yeah,
that's true.
transplants is like first that comes to mind, and then quickly after that, or maybe like basically tangentially, you got I'm sure your wife, Hazen Street, you've got that as well with the H2O.
Yeah.
So yeah, around that was an era where you're getting your pop punk melded with your hip hop, which again, just think of how cyclical all of that is with like, basically, like emo rap became a thing. It was a whole thing, you know what I mean?
High
Like
class heroes.
that was so way ahead of its time. Like,
It really was.
so
Um,
yeah, it's crazy to think about. Like, yeah, when you uh, you know, mix your chocolate and your peanut butter together, like
and you get some Reese's. Mm.
exactly. Yeah, Reese's. Yeah, all the not to say that like all super groups are Reese's, but they're they're an elevated candy.
Sometimes they're an offshoot, and it's like, do you really want this?
Yeah.
Mm.
Or it's just like it's way too yeah, exactly. Like I was going to say Jawbreaker, but yeah, that's a whole other thing. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing.
Like the concept of like even like having well, maybe not really a super group,
Mhm.
because like when Tom and Travis started Plus 44, or Mark started Angels and Airwaves, or even before that with Boxcar Racer. I
Gotta
mean,
say, if you're plussing or minusing members, I gotta say that it kind of dissipates it dissipates the super group for me. I like as you said when we were first discussing, like Blink 182 can't even really be in the discussion because I mean, when it's with Scuba, it's a completely different band. Yeah, I mean, but it is still yes, Blink 182. But that being said, it's not. Again, it's you're not getting a super group classification. It really needs multiple people from multiple different bands. I feel.
yeah, well, that's what I was saying with like
Yeah.
Plus 44 and Angels and Airwaves. You're
Yeah.
really not bringing in like bigger name musicians from other bands. Like they're like friends of yours or roadies or people that you've worked with before, but not like, say, you're getting Travis Barker with Pete Wentz or
Right.
whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not starting a new entity either. Like when you bring in Matt Skiba and he joins the band, it doesn't become a super group just because Skiba has joined. I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
like a lot of bands have had lineup changes. I mean, ska bands are like notorious for them. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
they go through 800 horn players and there's
Mhm.
only like
Real big
600 of them.
fish.
So it doesn't even make any sense, right? But like that's just, I think that's the big classification difference is that like if after they got rid of Scott Rayner, if they then brought in Matt and Travis at the exact same time and started a brand new group, maybe you could argue that that was a super group. But like
Yeah.
bringing in new people is just sort of that's just a lineup change. That's like football. You know, like you people get
Right.
traded all the time. It's the concept of also I think how famous they are too. Like
Yeah, because
bringing Travis on from the Aquabats at the time is like it's not like a household name yet, you know. So you're not like, hey, check out this huge move. Everyone's like, okay, sure, okay,
at
go
the
for it.
time it's like, yeah, check out Skiba and his couple EPs. Look at him go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
So we've already touched on one, and obviously we've all brought one to the table of who like a supergroup we want to talk about. And Colin has brought it up, but it's Jeff's band that he's the one who picked them. So let's start with Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. I mean,
makes
w-
sense. First,
what
me
a yeah,
first.
yeah. I see what you did there. Um, so why Me First? Like obviously that's one of the ones that obviously popped into your head. Like maybe it's because Fat Mike was didn't Fat Mike start Me First?
Yeah, so as soon as you brought up the topic, like I know we've done drafts before, which is why I was like, "Hey, are we dibsing or are we drafting?" Because and then when you were like, "Yeah,
It
you
was
could dibs,"
Dibsing.
I was like, "Okay, boom, I want me first." Yeah, so it started out with Mike and a guy named Spike Slauson, who wasn't a big name at the time. He was actually working in like Fat Records mailroom, I believe at the time. And like
Yeah.
Mike heard him like just singing while he was working or whatever, and was like, "Dude, we've been wanting to put together a cover band, like me and some friends. Like, why don't we do it?" And so the initial plan for Me First was not they weren't even going to put out albums. It was just kind of a fun side project, like just something fun for them to do in between their other bands. And so yeah, it was Mike from NoFX, and then they picked up Spike Slauson, who uh, I it's been a while since I've looked deeply into it. I can't remember if Spike was in the Swingin' Utters when he joined, or if he got into Swingin' Utters after he was already in Me First. But either way,
Mhm.
Spike Slauson was in Swingin' Utters, and then they also brought in um, uh, Joey Cape from Lagwagon, and Shiflet, who was in No Use for a Name, who he went on to be in Foo Fighters as well. So it was
Yeah.
it was Joey, Mike, Spike, oh, and Dave Ron from Lagwagon as well came with Joey Cape. And so
Yeah.
yeah, two guys from Lagwagon, one guy from NoFX, one guy from Swingin' Utters, and then one guy from No Use for a Name slash Foo Fighters because he was making that transition at the time. But yeah, their original plan was just to like just have some fun playing covers in between, all the things that their other bands were doing. And they released like a few singles, and it just Fat Records was, peaking in terms of like they were, one of the, peak West Coast punk rock labels, and they were putting out these singles that they were doing. And so by the time that Me First put out their first like album, they were already like known. They were a known entity, and like yeah, these guys. This is like the punk rock cover band. In a genre that already, covers have been a thing since like the inception of pop punk, like the originators of pop punk, whoever claim that is, they did cover songs, right? So like it's been part of the genre since the beginning, but I feel like no one had done it as well or as focused on it like Me First and the Gimme Gimmes did.
That's
Um,
true.
and so yeah, they're incredible. The first time I heard of them, I was in high school, and a local radio station here, 96X. It's like one of the two alternative rock stations we have here. It was always my favorite of the two. And so back in like the late 90s, 2000s, they used to have what they called the punk show. And it was like a couple
Yep.
hours late on Sunday night, they would do the punk show. And so I used to listen to that. That again, being early high school, like that introduced me to several bands for the first time, and that was how I found out about Me First. They played their cover of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and I was like, "Who is
Yep.
Oh
this?" And so I
yeah.
immediately went out and bought that album, and then bought that was Our Drag, and then got Have a went and got Have a Ball, which is their first one that had come out before then, and just been tracking with them ever since. So yeah, I love To Me First and Gimme Gimme's. They've gone through. Speaking of, the lineup changes, they've cycled through different people. They've got one of the original Ramones as their bass player now. They've got because Mike stepped away from the band officially. They actually kind of changed the name. They like handed it over to Spike, and so now they're on when they tour. They're called Spike and the Gimme Gimmes because he's kind of the only
Yeah.
original member that
Yeah.
still is part of what's going on. Everybody else has kind of filtered off and done their own things. But yeah, that's when you mentioned Supergroup is the absolute first one that came to mind and the one I want to talk about. And I love them very much. I've always been a covers guy. My band has always played covers. And yeah, the way that they do it, they're just the as musicians, they're so gifted to be able to take the essence because they do all different genres. They've got a Broadway album and an R&B album and a
Ruin your bar
divas album and
mitzvah.
a country album and
Yep.
Hmm.
so they go all these different genres and they have such a knack for being able to I think deconstruct the song down to its essence and then filter that like through this pop punk lens of how do we make this into our thing. And so it doesn't matter what genre they're covering, it always sounds like Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, like they're
Yes.
just so good at it. And then you throw in their fun like little Easter eggs where they like to take snippets of other band songs and like usually they'll use them in the intro. Sometimes they'll do it in other places as well, but they'll just like straight up, start playing a different song in the middle of the cover, just as like a little Easter egg for people that catch them or not. And yeah, they're fun, man. I saw them at Warped Tour one year. They had mini fridges on the stage with them,
While
and
on
they were just
stage.
making
Yep.
drinks the whole time they were playing. And
Yep.
their costumes are wild. They always dress
Yeah.
up in wild costumes. Like they're just such a fun band. Like everything about them is just like party, and I like them so much.
They're a
So they
good
were the one
band.
I wanted to talk about.
It's funny that we mentioned Aquabats. Oh, I say we. I mentioned the Aquabats earlier because the song "Dear Spike" is about Spike Slauson.
Oh, really? No, I didn't
Because
know
when
that.
he was working the mail order room
Hmm.
for Fat Records, like that's who you would
Yeah.
write to, and so "Dear
Wow.
Spike" is about him.
That's
I
cool.
did
No,
not
I
know
didn't know
that.
that.
Yeah.
Good to know.
And
Angle,
Spike,
it looked
his
like you were about to
vocals.
say something. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
I
no,
know. Sorry.
I
Sorry,
love.
Mike.
No, it's okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, I love Me First. I think, you know, um, again, as far as covers go and punk covers of pop songs, I mean, I'll take Me First and Gimme Gimmes over anything on any
Same.
punk goes
Yeah.
pop. Okay, all right, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I figured that's where,
100%.
yeah, 100%. Like, there's truly almost honestly, I only really liked one song from any of those at all, and the one that I liked is I know it's been discussed before, the starting line. I like the I'm Real. I loved it. I honestly, they used a really good riff, and it's just strange that they kind of burned it on a cover, but like instrumentally, like that's an insane song. I love that, but literally, yeah. Me First and Gimme Gimmes does not miss. All of their covers are amazing, and again, I love weaving songs in and out of each other. Like, for example, like when we would my old band would cover Green Day, because it's in the same key and there is no solo in the song She. He would play the Talk Dirty to Me solo, and it was Talk Dirty to
Mm.
She. So yeah,
Mm.
just completely diametrically opposed songs lyrically, but it's just so it's fun. Whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love them. Yeah, Me First does that all the time, and like again, yeah, just covers are fun, and I feel like Me First would be um, if there was a pop punk Weird Al. I feel like it would be in the vein
Sure.
of
I could see that.
Me.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I love
I
it.
think like one of the big things for me about the two main reasons why their stuff works for me is that one, like the punk goes pop thing, frequently they pick bands that are already kind of like trying to get radio play. So they kind of already sound more pop than punk
Yeah.
already. And I don't think that they are necessarily really trying to sound like themselves when they're playing them. I feel like they are trying to do the original song, but just like add a little distortion kind of thing. And it's like
Mhm.
you're not really doing like the full spirit of the thing. Like it should sound like how would you play it, right? Not just like play the same song, but just grittier, right? Um, but then also like I appreciate the fact that there are a lot of bands out there that are too shy about if they cover something, they will change something. And what I mean by that is specifically something like a great example of this would be the song Santa Baby. Michael Bublé is the kind of guy that goes Santa buddy because he doesn't want to be like, oh, I'm gonna smooch Santa because he's like so insecure about himself. But like the fact that like Me First and the Gimme Gimmes is like, no, 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 I'm seducing Santa. Let's do this, right? Like I'm gonna use all the same language, like I've been a good girl, kind of thing. Like instead of like, I've been an awfully good guy. No, you sound like I shouldn't leave my drink around you, you know? Um, like that's the kind of, vibe I think that, and I think that's the thing is like, again, the deconstructing a song and then just making it sound like them,
Yeah.
but also they keep the elements that should stay the same
Yeah.
true to the song.
Have they ever put out a Christmas album?
They put out some Christmas
No.
singles.
Yeah, like I
Okay.
said, just some
Yeah,
singles because I
not
I
know
was
they've
gonna
done a Santa
say
Baby
because
and
I
one other one.
would 100% support a Me First and the Gimme Gimme's Christmas album.
Oh
I
yeah.
would be all about that.
Yeah, I do
Huh?
want to. I know we probably need to move on. We got a lot to cover, but I do think that part of the reason they're so good does rest on Spike. Like his vocals are like he's so versatile as a vocalist. Like when you're
Yeah.
taking things that were originally sung by like Whitney Houston and Barbara Streisand and like these like absolute insane vocalists, and yeah, they're gonna speed it up and they're gonna do whatever, but like he's still got to do the same melodies. Like he's got to make these things
Yeah.
hit the same way. And I think if he wasn't such a fantastic vocalist, I don't think Me First would hit the same way. They might have done, like a couple albums and it was fun and then it wouldn't be it. But like, no, that dude can sing anything
Mhm.
and it's great. And I think his vocals are a large part of the reason why they are so good and stand out among, punk covers, which is a
Yeah.
very yeah, it's just a lot of them out there.
Nice. Colin, I don't remember which band
Yes.
that you picked.
I picked the Forces of Evil, which is technically a ska band, not really punk, but I feel like, again, it's that thing of a lot of the times when you get like playlists, like the all new punk playlist on Spotify is always punk and punk adjacent, which
Yeah.
ska gets kind of, put into. Um, and so the Forces of Evil was this band that got formed in like the early 2000s because after Cheer Up came out by Real Big Fish,
Mhm.
Aaron Barrett was like, I'm pretty sure we're gonna tank. Like I think that we're gonna get pushed from the label, all this other stuff, because there was all sorts of decisions being made. They were like, hey, maybe a little bit less horns to be a little bit more radio present because you guys haven't been on the radio in a long time. So like there was a lot of choices happening, and they were like, I don't think we're gonna live. And so he was like, I need to start a new band just in case this falls apart. I need to have my backup ready to go. So it has kind of like a Ramones vibe in the sense that like everybody that's in the band, their last name is Evil. So like Aaron Barrett is Aaron Evil. And then you had Justin Ferreira, who is Justin Evil, Chris Evil, the trombone player, Derek Evil, which is Derek Gibbs, who later on became Real Big Fish's bassist.
Yeah.
Jay Lafayette of the Scholars, John Throop of Lone Raspberry, a band that I literally never heard of before this band. And then Johnny Christmas, John Christensen is his real actual name, but Johnny Christmas from Real Big Fish as well, joined on, and they did like a full album, and then I think like a couple covers as well, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, because that's also something that Real Big Fish loves to do. Is like every album has one cover on it. Like you got to have something that's got their stink on it. Um, and
I
yeah,
do
so like
enjoy a
they
good cover
they
song.
did that, and when it became apparent that Real Big Fish was going to survive, they didn't stick it out, which I don't think they needed to. But like,
Yeah.
um, I appreciate the concept of like, hey, if this band dies, I want people to know that I am still 100% a ska guy, and I'm gonna keep being a ska guy because I feel like a lot of bands sometimes go, well, then maybe we'll just do something without horns now. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
just be like an alternative band or a punk band or whatever. And he's like, no, no, no. I've been ska since day one, and I'm gonna be ska till the day that they bury me in the earth, you know. And I really appreciate that like dedication. Because
Yes.
I got out of the ska scene. I mean, I still listen to it, but like I stopped being a ska band. And I was kind of like, never again. After the third time. Three strikes, you're out. I think it's kind of the deal. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm really big fan of it. The only album they put out was called Friend or Foe in 2003, 2004,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. And so like that came out like right as I was in like middle school. So of course that was when like LimeWire, I was probably breaking the family PC to download this, and I was like, oh yeah, more Aaron Barrett songs. I
Be
love
great.
this. I'm going through puberty. Oh, Forces of Evil is really cool, guys. And everyone's listening to like Jay-Z and stuff. And I'm like, no, but have you guys heard a trumpet before? Because it's pretty neat. Um, so I know that they're definitely like, as far as like a super
These
group
people-
goes,
It's this
like
band.
it's very like niche, and it's in a way, I don't know if I can really call it a super group if like only one of the bands is like majorly famous.
Yeah.
Um, but they were at least in California, all well-known touring ska bands. And I feel like once you bring in like, you know, people from the Scholars, Jeffrey's Fan Club, Real Big Fish, um, Lone Raspberry, and there was one other band that I'm forgetting. Um, but like, you know, you had like five bands represented between like seven members. And I just sort of feel like at that point you kind of have to be like, all right,
Yeah.
that's
I'm
enough
good
of
with that.
a wide net to categorize this kind of thing.
I'm good with that classification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love,
Um,
of course, I love that album, that Friend or Foe album. And the funny part of that story is that, you know, the Real Big Fish was going back and forth with their label, trying to get them to change their sound, putting all this pressure on them. Aaron went off and did this Forces of Evil album, and then the story goes that the label heard that album and was like, that should have been the new Real Big Fish album. Like, and Aaron was like, oh my God, you're kidding me. Like the
yeah.
whole reason I went and made that is because you guys wouldn't let me make that album. But supposedly they were so impressed by it, they were like, this should have been a Real Big Fish album. And he was just like, screw
You
It's
this.
such a
sons of
corporate
bitches.
it's such a corporate thing to do, which is like, oh no, we've always loved this. Like once something clearly works, they go, we've always did it fan like this was always our idea, or ever, you know, like they love to take the credit or go, well, why didn't we just do that from the beginning? It's like because
Mhm.
this is why
Guys
we
are
need to
all a
have more
pain in the ass.
emails, less meetings,
Yes, I agree.
et cetera, et cetera.
Love it. I gotta be honest, I never listened to them, and now I need to go listen to them.
It's, I mean,
So
I
that's my
think
bad.
again, like it's very niche and it's very like, I don't want to call it like underground because again, it was like, it was well received enough for, like you said, to get the attention that they needed to kind of keep Real Big Fish alive. But like, um, it's just, you know, it's a solid little band. And like, I'm never surprised if no one's ever heard of them. But sometimes you put that on, someone's like, is that Forces of Evil? And you're like, yeah, man, good ear, good ear.
Good job. All right, I now found them, and I will listen to them tomorrow.
Yeah, just
So
that
that is
that opener, Angry Anthem, is like that's
Yes.
all you need. Like you hear that and you're like, oh, I know exactly what this band is. Like,
nice. I like
It's
it.
also very apparent that it's an Aaron Barrett band, I think. Like, you know what I
yes.
mean? Like, just like specifically the way that that album opens, you just kind of know, okay, I know who's behind this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Angle,
It's 100% his fingerprints.
Angle, what was the band you chose?
Oh, so I did. Okay, it's called The Damned Things, and it's
I
okay.
I
Are you
know the name.
know the name? Okay, so it's a super group consisting of half of Fallout Boy. Actually, it's Joe and Andy from Fallout Boy,
Mhm.
and in its first iteration, it was the bassist and Scott. It's Ian. Wait, is it Scott Ian or Ian Scott? The Anthrax man.
Ian Scott.
Yeah, Ian Scott. There you go. Yes. And the singer is Keith Buckley from Every Time I Die. I know.
Nice.
Exactly. So it is okay. And I will
That's how
say,
I know who it is.
yes,
Okay.
exactly. There you go. Keith Buckley. Not the best Buckley, obviously. I know you're a fan of Jeff, but that being said, yes. So this band, they had an album, and this is honestly only they had two albums throughout their entire discography.
Yeah.
However, I was most into their first one. It was called Ironiclast. And it's just basically if you're thinking things of the time, it's very like Malines and the Sons of Disaster. What's really funny is they're kind of like playing in um, the singer's wheelhouse, which is something you don't see that much in supergroups. I feel like okay, we know what this front person can do, literally like in their own space. But we as musicians are all just going to kind of like play to that. I feel like it really came down to um, Joe and Mr. Scotty and or yeah, they became friends, and I feel like they're like, okay, well, clearly we have to start a band now. And to tie
Yeah.
it all together, in 2019 when they released an album, Dan from Alkaline Trio is now fully incorporated in the band, and he's doing
Oh, damn.
his. Yeah,
All right.
exactly, I know. Yeah, so really three disparate sources of influences just kind of like coming together to make this kind of like Thin Lizzy throwbacky kind of, I mean, very just like Leonard Skinnerdy kind of like just riffs. It's kind of like a riff
Yeah.
machine. It's like, I think Joe and Scott were just like trying to literally just like outdo each other with the riffs. And then if anything, freaking Keith is just kind of being restrained compared to what he fucking normally does and freaking Every Time I Die, which is insane. Yeah, just like he is very, very talented as far as just like
I didn't know he could be restrained, to be honest with you.
yeah, I know. Well, exactly. One would not think, but yeah. I mean, truly. And I know like he's got other stuff he's got going on right now. Like for example, like obviously Every Time I Die is done, but Andy does wrestling now. Jordan's in a band called Better Lovers, and Keith is in something called Many Eyes. So they're all doing
Yeah.
completely like different stuff very
Yeah.
clearly. Every Time I Die has taken many different paths. But that being said, it's interesting that like yeah, basically there is room for this to come back and happen again. And it also was interesting. Dan, this isn't his first super group. I mean, there's the Falcon as well, which is again is Chicago friends playing in each other's bands. Basically, it's Lawrence Arm Man's band. um, Nyla Sarbies, Jesus Christ, Brendan or Brandon or something. Anyway, um, super groups are fun. And this one again, it's just you never really see that. Like, okay, what it like? You look at the band that the vocalist is coming from. They're like, okay, we all kind of like that style. Let's really like play to that and like, because we know what he's capable of, we can truly do anything. But that's just like honestly make songs that rock. Like that's one of these things.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, hey, because I mean. I love Every Time I Die. It's like I remember very distinctly like my first time like listening to him was like in a car and like they're like okay let's throw an Ebola-rama and it's just like holy shit, especially when it gets to like the breakdowny part where it's like
Yeah.
mercy fucks there was blood, yeah, oh my god, great, yeah, and then the music, then I went home and watched the music video, waited fucking 10 hours on LimeWire to watch that thing, and yeah it's just like a roller skating and shit. I loved it. I love Every Time I Die. And yeah, who would have thought, half a Fallout Boy? But again, they're all Chicago hardcore kids, so it's not that big of a stretch. I just really think that Joe and uh, Scott was just like, okay, well, dang, we are fast friends. We both like Thin Lizzy or whatever, and like, just be riff machines and have fun. And I feel like that was one of the things that Joe kind of got disillusioned with Fallout Boys. Like I think his book is called something like "Does This Even Rock?" or something. So it's just kind of like
Yeah.
he was the huge arena-ness that eventually became Fallout Boy kind of wasn't his steez. As you can see, it's very evident that he's much more passionate about like the damn things type of music and just like guitar based rock in general. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so where they are right now, again, they're all doing different things, but will they come back together and reform the supergroup? Who's to say? It was pre-COVID when they got together and then
Yeah.
kind of dissipated. Yeah.
So,
Was Dan your access point into the band, or were you familiar with them
Oh,
before Dan
no, I
got
was
subbed
with
in?
before. I mean, yeah, I love.
Okay.
I was, yeah. Honestly, I think they made a big deal about it at the time. You know how they normally do, especially again, like, this was around the era of like whatever, like, I think on High had come out yet, but not fully adieu as far as Fall Out Boy releases go, and you could tell Joe was kind of, yeah, not. He was physically there, but his heart is was not in it anymore. Yeah.
Was
So
nowhere at the time.
yeah.
So I was down to two groups. One I just started listening to, which was Held, but I feel like I talked enough about that album during album archives, and I feel like maybe go back a little bit further into Speak the Truth, even if your voice shakes. Have you guys ever heard of them?
No.
Okay, so Speak the Truth is, I guess you can consider it a super group in a way. It's Buddy Nielsen from Census Fail on vocals, uh, Alex Linares from Finch. Basically, the rest of the band is filled up with the guys from Finch. It's Alex, it's Daniel on bass, and then it's Alex Pappas on drums. It's very it's very much in the wheelhouse of Census Fail and Finch, kind of like that post-hardcore, amazing guitar work. Because Alex, we'll get into that in a little bit later. But one of the signatures of Finch is their guitar work between Alex and R2K, and truly brought to this. And it's just they've only put out one album. They released a single and they put out one album and it was called Everyone You Love Will Slip Away From You. It's only 10 tracks. It came out in 2017, so it's been almost 10 years. I don't think they've done anything since then. I think there was talks of a tour or supporting Census Fail on a tour right before COVID happened, but then I think COVID came, knocked all that off track. And besides, I mean, Census Fail is still doing a lot of stuff. I think both Alexes were like happy with their like post Finch careers. Um, and it's just nothing really ever came of it, which is really kind of disappointing because I like obviously Census Fail and Finch probably had much larger impacts on music than this band had, but I felt this band like really could have gone somewhere. And it was really kind of disappointing that it didn't because I like Census Fail, but if I had to choose between going to see Census Fail and seeing this band play live, I, I kind of want to see this because that album was fantastic. You know, if that's the kind of music you're into, I can't help but say, hey, go seek it out and go listen to it because it's fucking good. So I think it was like Crash Your Car was like one of the big singles off of that. And then there's like one other. But yeah, it was just what this band could have done with the power that it had. I felt like it's just really kind of disappointing that it didn't go anywhere. So
Mhm. I feel like there's a lot of bands that kind of fall under that, like supergroups
yeah,
or not. Like a lot of bands that have like maybe one album and like that's it. Like I've always kind of wondered what if like more Boxcar Racer or more Plus 44 before we got into, the other
yeah.
bands, and everything like that. But uh yeah, I'm looking
There's
forward
a
to doing
lot
some
of
more
bands
homework
out
though.
there. There's a lot of bands out there that just have like one album. Like Sex Pistols only had one full length album. And
Huh.
yeah, they only had one full length.
Yeah.
They're Operation Ivy,
Yeah,
obviously.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
I
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
did,
I was
yeah.
thinking
I
about
mean
them too, yeah.
that's like the go-to for band with only one album. So
Hmm.
Angle, I see you raising your hand, sir.
Oh no, I'm just saying. I mean, I love
Oh,
Buddy. I love Census Fail 3357 was my first AIM screen name. Love it.
oh God. AIM.
I
Yes, I
Who
do.
know.
remembers AIM?
Oh, I do desperately. I want it back.
Give
I
me
don't. It was a hellscape,
I
and
think we should bring it back and replace like WhatsApp with that. Like I think that if everyone brought back game, I think the world if we had away messages,
yeah,
the world would be such a better place.
it
Let
really
me
would.
quote
Away
Alkaline
messages.
Trio so people know I'm upset, you know? But
exactly.
that they still won't ask me why I have those lyrics, you know?
No,
Because everyone knows.
Yeah.
Everyone
everyone
knows.
knows. Everyone knows.
It's middle score or high score or whatever, you know?
All right. So let us move into the final phase of this episode, the creative part of this episode, and that is the creation of your supergroup. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm very proud of mine. Okay.
Angle seems very excited for this.
I am. I am. Okay. So just for time, yeah. I'm going to state the genre. I'm gonna say the players involved, and then I'll give you my fake name slash what I might call this thing. Okay, so are you guys ready for some shoegazy post-hardcore? Well, get
Ooh.
ready. Here we go. All
I'm
right.
excited for this.
Who do we have on drums? But AFI's Adam Carson. I mean, come on. I mean, that
Nice.
yes, we love him. Amazing drummer. Fantastic. On bass, we need someone who can hold down a groove, but still, post-hardcore adjacent. Well, how about this? We got Manuel Carrero of Glassjaw and Saves
Nice.
the Day, and Saves the Day,
Oh,
especially.
damn.
Oh yeah, and we're talking like "Stay What You Are" kind of onward. It wasn't.
Hmm.
So, that's the reason I love his bass playing so much is that song, and it took seeing it live to actually appreciate it. But that song "Get Fucked Up" off
Oh,
the
yeah.
off of Under the Boards. Oh my God, yeah, the do 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 do. Amazing. Yes, he's amazing. Keeping it moving. Okay, this one for rhythm guitar. This might be the curveball. And I thought about it a little bit. I'm like, well, basically, it'd be like if someone our age was playing with the aforementioned aged people I've mentioned, aka,
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit older. But that being said, this would be like, yeah, on rhythm guitar, I got Chase Knob from Joyce Manor, who's also he keeps a good rhythm, but he can also shred. He's shredding,
Yeah.
and if I want a little more jangly, aka more of the shoegazy aspects, this is where the lead guitar comes in, and obviously where I'm going to win Rob over with Tom Keeley of Thursday. Okay, we've got the jangle,
Okay.
we've got the postcard chorus, and who is going to front all this? Again, kind of tying it in with Manuel from the jersey of it all. It's Gerard Way. That would be amazing, I think.
Okay. I could see that.
And again, he's not unfamiliar to super groups. That he's been doing stuff with the Interrupters. I think playing bass with some members of the Interrupters, something like that. So
I've
Gerard.
heard their single. It's
Oh,
really
really?
good.
Okay, awesome,
I
sick.
really enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So Gerard's obviously, he did comics for about a decade and then just came back to music type deal. But I'm sure he still has the vocals to really just like make this kind of like jangly post-hardcore-ish popish thing that I'm envisioning. And one final thing, and this is only obviously if, again, it would be a triumphant return, and Rob and I would love this again. We've talked about it at length before, but if they were to have some keys or you want some moog on it, I'd say throw James DeWeese back in the mix again with the MCR connection. And what would
I
I
would
call
love
this
that.
thing? We love
Yes.
it. Yeah, okay. What would I call this thing? I love the song by Sonic Youth, Diamond C. Diamond C would be good. Astral Sea, Astral Ship, Astral Waves, something like that. That's what I'm bringing to the table. So yeah,
I
that's my
like it.
super group. Boom.
That's awesome.
Thank you, thank you.
Jeff, Colin?
Quite good. Quite good. You want to jump in, Colin, or me?
Sure. Okay. Now, hear me out on this one. I think this one has some legs. Okay. So you get the drummer from the Aquabats Travis Barker.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you get the bassist and lead singer of Plus 44, Mark Hoppus.
Ooh,
All right.
imagine that.
Then you take Angels and Airwaves, Tom DeLonge. And then just as a curveball, Matt Skiba and the Secrets, Matt Skiba, new super. No, okay, no. My actual answer, I did think to myself like, do I take either Skiba or Mark Hoppus? And I had to really think about this because I didn't want to be too on the nose for myself. But I think that for my super group, I'm gonna take people that are not only like good at their instruments, but all of them are singers. Um, and I'm starting with just lead vocals though. Would be Parker Cannon, specifically in my head for his work with No Pressure, not for the story so far. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's not the vocals that I don't love about the story so far. I think Parker is great, and it's not just because he has a good first name. But I'm taking him on vocals. Then I think I am going to take Kenny Vasoli from the starting line on bass and backing vocals.
All right.
Then I'm gonna take a band that like I kind of was always shocked never really lasted longer, and that's the Swellers. Jonathan Diener was the drummer and backing
Yes, he
vocalist for that
was.
band.
He was
Um,
fantastic.
and he was quite good. So again, you've got another vocalist and someone who's playing drums. And then I'm thinking for guitar, I that's where I will take my one little like kind of blink and blink adjacent thing. I think I am gonna take Skiba and backing vocals. And then if I can get one more guitarist slash
Absolutely.
backing vocalist, I'll take Stephen Egerton from Descendants. And I feel like have like a real range of like eras and kind of have it be this little time capsule of like, I don't know, 4 decades worth of pop punk, I feel like. And I feel like there's something that could be really interesting and intriguing in there. I almost took Jim Atkins of Jimmy Eat World, but then I was like, I don't necessarily always love live performance.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna go a little more tried and true. And also again, give me some more range. So that is my thing. I think I'll call it Vox, like VOX, because like, when you're writing out your stuff for like all your tracks and you're like, we need vocals, you're writing Vox. So it's
There
just
you
it's
go.
all Vox all the time.
I like it. There are actually no instruments. It's just a cappella. And it's
Now I hadn't thought about that. That would be something. I don't know if half of these guys could handle that,
Yeah.
but like if there was for whatever reason a what was that movie? Pitch Perfect 4, but it was all pop punk. I could see that. I could see that group
Okay.
coming together.
nice. Jeffrey?
Me and Colin actually almost had some overlap.
Ooh.
But my supergroup kind of morphed as I was creating it, and but some of my original members we would have had some overlap because I kind of approached it in a similar way where it's like, okay, am I just pulling my favorite musicians from my favorite bands and sticking them all into one thing?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I started out. And I was like, this doesn't actually work musically though. Like the thing that I love about like for example, Scott Sellers was one from Rufio was like when I was like, but then you put Scott's like his guitar playing with like, somebody else, and it's like, oh well, that actually I don't know if it's going to translate. So I went from like, okay, am I just pulling some of my favorite musicians, favorite bands, cramming them together to see what happens, or am I going to be a little more, so I tried to go with something that I feel like would gel really well together, and I went with some of the best songwriters that I think are in the scene right now, just because I would love to see these guys get together and like songwriting in a room together. Like I would love to see what would come out of that. And so I don't know what order to go in, but I'll just start. And I also went with some pretty heavy on some vocalists as well, because I love when a band will use more than one vocalist. Um, you know, Blink does it, but like Wonder Years, they have like three different guys that they'll, and so I love it when you just get to a bridge and you're like, oh, this voice has just a slightly different, timbre to his, and like so it fits, it works. I love the dual vocals like Less Than Jake, right? So like I
Hmm.
love bands that really lean into more than one vocalist. And so I am going to start. I did start with Anthony Ranieri from Bayside on guitar and vocals.
Hmm.
But I would love to see him split vocals. So I don't know if I would call him like the lead vocalist because I would love to see him split vocal time with the second one is Alan Steinberg, who is in Arm's Length,
Mhm.
and does guitar and vocals for Arm's Length. So I would love to see the two of their vocals kind of play off of each other. Um, I think Anthony Ranieri is one of the most underrated frontmen in the scene. I think he's absolutely amazing. And so I'd love to see him get his flowers. Arm's Length is putting out some of the best music that I've heard in a decade. Their last two albums are both perfect. They're both so good. So I would love to see those two playing off each other. The vocals are both amazing, but they're different. And so I'd love to see that contrast really bring it out. So I've got both of them on guitar and vocals, and then I've also got another guitar player, which is Rylan from Origami Angel. I would love to see Rylan get in the mix too. Again, love the songwriting that Origami Angel is doing, and I think Rylan is actually going to fit well with the rest of the band. On bass, I really went in circles on bass for a little while, and so I ended up I'm throwing a curveball. I'm taking Matt Carter from Emery, but I'm moving him from guitar to bass because Emery hasn't. They don't really have a dedicated bass player. They used to. They kicked out two bass players, and eventually they just said, okay, Toby and Devin are just going to swap bass back and forth depending on who's singing, lead on this song. Emery, another great band with dueling vocals. Um, but Matt Carter contributes the most to their songwriting, and so I would imagine most of the bass parts in the Emery songs are actually written by Matt anyways, and then they just get handed off to Toby or somebody to play. And so I love Matt as a musical mind, the way that he approaches musical theory and song arrangement. I would love to see him get in the mix with these other songwriters. And then I really had a hard time deciding, okay, what drummer fits this? Like I went through, some of the big names but I was like, nothing really fits right. And then finally I went with Steve Klezeth from Further Seems Forever, and Shai Hulud. Um, I absolutely love the drums on Further Seems Forever. I love. I mean, the dude can do anything, and I think he would fit kind of like the mathy influence that Rylan would bring, and some of like the rhythmic stuff that Matt would bring on bass. I think that he would complement that really well. Also, I just wanted to see Further Seems Forever get a little bit of shine because I absolutely love them. I'm hoping we can do a future episode on them, Rob,
With that.
because they have a wild story too. They're so unique in so many ways. And so, yeah, that rounds it out. So, Anthony from Bayside, Alan from Arm's Length, Rylan from Origami Angel, Matt Carter from Emery, and then Steve on drums from Further Seems Forever. And then, in addition to, having some overlap in the early musician stages, my Vox is a Latin word. My band name is also Latin. So I'm just ripping off Colin on that as well. I went with the E pluribus unum from Many One. I thought that
Mm.
fit with the super group idea, but then I was like, I think it sounds better. Just go pluribus. Like E pluribus unum, but we're just gonna call him
Yeah.
pluribus. So that was my super group. So very kind of mathy emo, which I didn't start out that way. I started out pop punk, like hard pop
Yeah.
punk, and then as I started swapping out for like some really good songwriters, like, oh, I think I'm going in an emo direction. So that's what I ended up with. That's my super group, and I think
Yes.
they would all actually fit really well together. I think that would vibe.
Yeah.
So mine, I really, the more I think about it, the more I felt like I was like, because originally, like, I was just kind of like throwing my favorites and this is how it's going to be, whether you like it or not. So it did feel very much like a hodgepodge of like just people I like and I think are great musicians. I didn't know if they would actually all meld together. And honestly, I'm still not 100% sure they would all meld together. So starting off on drums, I have to go with easily one of the best drummers I've ever seen live. He knows he's so fucking steady. He's so good. And that's Josh Eppert from Coheed and Cambria. On bass, I've been like going over like three or four names. Matt Freeman was in the mix for a little bit, but with because this is very much going in like an emo pop punk direction, it just felt like something that Matt would not quite be 100% there. And like his bass playing is maybe a little too good for what I'm trying to put together. Um, I thought Roger Lima for a little bit because his bass lines are fantastic. He knows when to be steady. He knows when to fill. He knows he's just that fucking good. And I'm still kind of leaning in that direction, but at the same time, I feel like probably the best way to go and having him as a sometimes backing vocalist as well is Mike Herrera from MXPX. Um, on
Enough
lead
for
guitar.
Goldfinger. It's good enough for you.
It really is good. Mike Herrera is just he's top notch, 100%. Um, lead guitar, I thought about Randy Schromeyer, R2K from Finch. It was him and one other, and honestly, I think maybe see, I'm still back and forth on all this. I was trying to the reason I was leaning more towards Randy is because I was trying to pick one person from each band. And since I picked Josh Eppard, I really didn't want to pick uh Travis Stever from Co-Eating Cambria, but his guitar playing and his leads are so good that but at the same time for a pop punk kind of emo band, I'm not 100% sure how well that would work. But yeah, let's go with Randy. Let's go with R2K from Finch. Still not 100% sure it'll work, but dude's crazy enough to do it. He really is. Um, on rhythm guitar and backing vocals, and this is kind of like the lead into the insanity that is my mind and how where I'm going with this is Chris Caraba, uh, of Dashboard Confessional and Further Seems Forever notoriety. And the reason I went with him was because our leading vocalist uh, attributed their love of emo and pop punk to Dashboard Confessional. And for one reason or another, they have the sway, they have the swagger, they have the ability to create magic no matter what they do. And in all honesty, I would love it if they had an opportunity to shine in the pop punk emo arena. And if anyone can fucking do it, it's Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift leading a powerhouse pop punk emo band, even if just for one album, that album would sell the fuck out. And the name of this band is Life of a Showgirl because
I mean, she
I,
says she's a fan of the starting line, so I don't think it's
that's what I'm.
necessarily too far off of a guess or not guess, a poll, you
Yeah,
know?
That's
man,
the thing. Like she was talking
Fair
about, like
Barrymore,
in
okay,
recent
yeah.
interviews, whereas like Dashboard Confessional, Chris Caraba was like some inspiration in her early work as well. So I think throwing them together and the harmonies alone would be insane. So, and when I mentioned that I wanted to create our own supergroup, he was the first one I thought of. I was like, I would love to see just like Taylor Swift in like a pop punk band. I don't know how that would work. I don't know if it actually would work, but if anyone can do it, she's got the lady balls to do it. So, Taylor, let's have it. Pop punk album. I just want to see it. That's her next album. That's album 13 is a pop punk album. It's not going to happen, but it would be fucking cool. So, I mean, she was touring with Paramore for a while. Tell me that wouldn't be awesome. Um, so yeah, that's my insane idea. Taylor Swift doing pop punk.
How progressive of you to put a woman in your band. You're the only one of us to put a woman in your band.
Aha, I'm progressive.
Yeah, it's this big sausage party over here if our bands
Yeah.
put on tour.
Yeah, that's true.
It's fine. It's Taylor. I mean, she's got bigger balls than all of them combined. So that's neither here nor there. All right. Well, that's going to be it for tonight in this particular episode. Come back next week when it is actually mine and my wife's anniversary, and we'll be doing an anniversary episode with just me because it's one of my presents to my wife is talking about our relationship and the music that has affected us and has been a part of our relationship along the way. And that includes Jeff from Sam's the Hero and their song. I will be gushing over that as well.
You did say absolutely you're doing it without me though.
I'm doing it without all these people. It'll just be me.
That's also part of the present.
That's part of the present. There's no angle in this episode.
You don't have to.
So, anyways, that's it, guys. Thank you very much for coming on and being part of this show. Especially with being last minute and just kind of haphazardly thrown together. We'll be back next week. Yeah, that's it.